go ahead and burn all the food that you have in your stomach. Well, once the food is gone, it's going to take it from your energy storage, which is your fat. So you want to always be an afterburn if you could. So phase 3, you're going to feel the afterburn a lot because there's no rest times in phase 3. I'm sorry, no rest days. So you're on a continuous workload. So as something is recovering, something else is being worked. Yeah. So you're constantly, in the afterburn effect, and that's going to be very, very, very good when it comes to burning the maximum amount of body fat. Yeah. So even though it's only 12 days, but they'll see a significant increase in the body fat percentage decreasing down, and also, like you said, with the strength. Yeah. Afterburn is going to be very, very significant in this phase compared to some of the other ones.
Yeah, and can you describe in detail exactly how guys should feel throughout this phase, like what the desired feeling is after a workout?
Everybody feels a little bit different, but the general way that you'll feel is you're going to feel like your muscles are really full, they're really pumped, but at the same time they're sore. Now they shouldn't be painful. So that means if you touch your muscles and if it hurts, then you're pretty much, your muscles aren't ready for this phase then. It should be the point to where it's sore, you can stretch out, and you feel like everything is always pumped. And you always feel like like you just worked out, even though you worked on your chest, let's say 2 days ago, but it still feels really pumped and really full, and you should always be a little sore in pretty much almost the entire body. Yeah. But it's just a little sore. If you feel, again, too sore or you feel that pain, then that means your body isn't ready for phase 3, and it has to go ahead and recover a little more, rest a little more, and get ready before going into this 12 days of training.
Yeah, and that was the biggest difference I noticed between phase 2 and phase 3. Whereas phase 2, I'd be like, oh, my chest is sore, or wow, like my shoulders are sore. In phase 3, it's like every single day, my entire body, is sore.
Yeah. So you're almost always in the afterburn effect.
Yeah. Okay, so let's talk about the nutrition in phase 3. What's the major difference, and why are we doing it this way?
Well, the nutrition in phase 3, you have to start implementing the 5 meals. This is at the time to where if you don't, you're not going to be ready for phase 4, to where you're going to have that few pounds more that you have to take off. If you don't implement the 5 meals, it's not going to be enough of a reduced in calories. So again, the zero willpower eating system was designed so this way you can consume the amount of food that you need, but at a lower calorie count. So you have to make sure that this is the time to go ahead and really implement those 5 meals and get you prepared to talk about social situations, liquid calories, and things like that get a little more trickier. So you definitely got to make sure that's implemented.
Yeah, and I have to say that if you're doing these really hard workouts, then you really gotta have high quality fuel. I mean, at this point, if you're doing workouts like this and you can do it, then you got the Ferrari, and you got to put Ferrari grade fuel in there, or else it's gonna sputter and you're not gonna be able to perform.
Definitely.
Okay, so let's talk about some of the pitfalls to watch out for in phase 3. What are some of the things that might trip guys up here?
Well, with the eating transition, going to 5 meals from 3, I think that's one that's kind of tough for guys. Yeah. Again, just like we said in the other phases, if you're almost there and you're at 4 meals or maybe at 3 still, don't worry. It's just a stepping stone. Eventually, you need to get to 5, and hopefully, you can do it in this phase before this phase is over. But again, just remember, it's a constant progress. Just as long as you're constantly getting a little bit better, you're on the right track. One thing I need to stress, one of the biggest pitfalls in this stage is just making sure that they use good form. Yeah. A lot of guys, when they rush into this phase, they're going heavier, and the exercises are a little tougher, so they start using sloppy form. And I can't stress enough on how dangerous it is if you use sloppy form in this stage. I guarantee that if you do, you're just asking for an injury, and injuries are a very big setback. Keep the form slow and strict. Slow and controlled is always what I tell my guys when we're working out. Slow and controlled, so this way you limit the chances for injury.
Definitely. And what would you say if a guy, did make that mistake and did have some type of minor injury, say, doing a deadlift or something? What would your advice to him be? You can go into the exercise vault, and you'll see all the exercises. Every single exercise in this program is demonstrated in there. We're gonna go. There's tips in there. There's proper form. There's good form and bad form. So this way you can kind of compare what you're doing or what you know versus what you see.
So definitely go ahead and study through these exercises. One good advice actually, if you'd like, just to make sure, is you can actually go ahead and study all these exercises before starting phase 3, just to make sure that all the techniques and all the perfect form is there before going.
Yeah, definitely. And one story I want to tell you guys is when I was doing exercises like this, years back, I can remember I injured my back during doing deadlifts one time. It was just a minor injury. It was something which would have gone away in a few days if I had just rested it. But I made the mistake of having a little too much ego, and I kept deadlifting after I did it. I did 5 more sets of deadlifts, and of course doing that, it aggravated it, and I was out for a month. So if something like that happens to you, don't have ego about it. Just take a few days off and then restart. Don't aggravate it through doing more and put yourself out for longer than you have to be.
Definitely. I experienced something like that before too. Yeah. Form is so important, not just for safety, but also it is required for proper muscle development. Because if not, then what you're really doing is you're just working your joints.
Yeah.
Because a lot of people go through the motion, but they're not actually, stressing the muscle. They're just stressing their joints. So at the end, you're hurting your wrists, you're hurting your elbows, your shoulders, or your lower back. I've hurt my lower back before. Just like what Dan said, I actually didn't know how to deadlift years ago before, and same thing, hurt my back. And what I did is I took some time off, came back, and deadlifted wrong again. And it wasn't until somebody I met taught me how to deadlift the correct way, and I realized, wow, I started questioning all the other exercises I was doing, and years later I found out not all my exercises were correct. So I had to relearn a lot of things. So yeah, definitely take your ego out. Even if you've been exercising for a few years now, sometimes it feels like it's right, and maybe you haven't injured yourself, but if that's the case, you're not doing the exercise right, you're just kind of playing on that thin line, and so always check your form and make sure that you're doing everything right and everything perfect for the safety reason and for proper muscle development.
Yeah, and those details of the form are so important. Those tiny little details that you think don't matter, they really matter a lot. So I mean, if you have to go into that exercise vault and watch the form for the deadlift 5 or 10 times, and do it, because if that prevents an injury, it'll be worth its weight in gold.
Definitely, I agree.
Okay, so what are some of the other pitfalls and mistakes that guys commonly fall into in phase 3?
Well, talking about the form, something else that kind of goes with sloppy form is a lack of focus. Yeah. Sometimes when you go into the gym, you can just you follow the workouts and you have other things on your mind and you're just kind of going through it. But in this phase, because you're lifting so heavy, because the rep range is so low, you have to be 100% focused. And that is going to show in your form. That's going to show also in the strength that you need. Because if you're not all there, you're not going to be able to really perform and give out that 100% that you need to to get these reps out and to be able to do these exercises to where you're using your whole body. So definitely have to be very, very focused.
Yeah, definitely. And I know the mistake a lot of guys make is that in phase 2, obviously you still have to be focused, but it's a type of thing where if you were talking to your friend a little bit or doing this and that, you could still get by with it. And in phase 3, doing this type of thing, this is a real serious workout program. You cannot get by with talking to your friends while you're working out and
right.
Looking at the wall, and you have to be 100% focused on what you're doing, or else it's a real safety risk.
There's something I want to add, Dan. I think this is very important. During this phase, one key thing to always keep in mind is when you're doing the exercises, you want to keep your core tight. You want to always be flexing your abs. You want to always feel kind of like you're moving almost in a robotic way. The reason why is because if you move in a robotic way, everything is stiff, everything is controlled. Yeah. But if you move in a loose way, then muscles are loose and they can get injured. So that's actually something I think is very important, and we need to make sure that y'all guys are doing that. Keep your abs really tight when you're doing these exercises, and pretty much every single exercise that you do, but very important when it comes to phase 3.
Definitely. That's one of the biggest things I noticed about your form versus a beginner's form, and say the clean and press. Your form, everything is tight. It goes here straight up.
Right.
Everything is a straight line, robotic, like you said.
Right.
Whereas the beginner, it's kind of coming up and
you're leaning, and your body is going out of natural alignment, and that's when injuries come.
Exactly. And if your form looks even a little bit like that, then lower the weight and study up on the form more. I know we're really harping on this, but it's super, super important.
Yeah, and that's the thing. When you're looking at the rep range, you're going to find that the weights need to be pretty heavy, but if you're questioning your form, or if this is just your first time doing these exercises, definitely lower the weight, increase the reps. It's okay to kind of change it up once in a while because it will be a lot safer that way. So you can actually start off by doing a test run, which is basically to where you look at the exercises, you make sure you know how to do all of them first. So you want to do them with very light weight just to make sure the form is there before actually slapping on more weight and keeping the reps low.
Definitely. Okay, so those are some of the pitfalls, but what are the results that guys can expect if they successfully complete phase 3?
Significant increase in core strength and in abdominal muscles and the muscles around. Significant increase in overall just body strength because of the total body concept of doing these exercises. Your muscles are going to appear to be a lot fuller now, a lot harder because these exercises are done so heavy, so that makes your muscles more denser. And also you'll see that this is a very big shock to your metabolism. So what we talked about before about your body heating up, well, your body's going to be on fire now. So your metabolism is going to significantly increase during this phase, and again, it'll prep you for phase 4.
Yeah, definitely. And I want to stress again that this is a very, very serious workout, and this is a very hard phase. Make no mistake about it. But you're going to see some massive, massive results from this. You're going to see some big increases in strength and muscle size, big increases in the muscularity of your core, and really, like, you're almost there. Like, you were almost at the finish line. You're almost going to have your six-pack abs, and by now you should be seeing like significant ab definition. And then you realize you're going to put the final touches on your six-pack abs in phase 4. And I just want to really encourage you to stick it through phase 3 because you're almost there. You're almost at your destination.
Definitely.
Okay, so let's review this real quick. What are some of the key points that guys should remember for phase 3?
Well, the key points to take away from this is remember the goal to go ahead and build the core muscles, and also this is a shocking phase. And again, also remember that you can always come back to this phase at any time after you're done with the program. Because when you're done with the program, you're going to be repeating phase 4 over and over. That's what phase 4 was developed for, a long-term use. But anytime you feel like your body is plateauing, you can always do phase 3, go through 12 days of hardcore training and re-shock your body back into changing again and getting to that development again. Another thing to take away is definitely try to go ahead and do the 0 willpower eating system at 5 meals. Very important because you're almost at the end of the line, and like what Dan said, you're at the point to where there's only a few pounds left and the abs are really starting to come out, so this is the time to really crank it up.
Yeah. And if you're ever having trouble in this phase and losing motivation, just go back to that vision board, go back to your goals, and really remember why you're doing all this, and realize that you are almost there, and don't stop 2 steps away from the finish line. Stick it through, and I promise you, it'll be worth it.
Definitely. So 12 days of training. It's hardcore. This is almost where you're at the phase 4. You're almost there. So keep training hard, and remember, keep looking at your vision board, have your goals set in mind, and we'll see you in the next phase.